Right then, moving across, we got a nice little section here to do as well. So thinking about starting at the front and moving backwards, so you get all these lovely little chinks of background colour left. I'm going to do this pot, then I'm going to do some of the leaves that overhang this pot, then I'm going to put the pot in behind them. You've got to think a bit if you're going to paint like this. You've got to really think a bit. So I'm starting with my dark blue, dark green, whatever you've got, dark purple, just the same as all the other pots. You know, once you've sorted out how to do a pot, you're away. Let's put this one in. Remember, the bottom is also an ellipse, it's a curve. It's not a straight line across the bottom. Put in my lights down one side and a little rim across there. Bit of light on the left hand side. Remember, please, all the light has to come from the same side on every pot. It seems a very obvious thing to say, but whilst you're enjoying painting it, it's very, very easy to forget it. Dark on the right hand side, light on the left hand side, and introduce whatever colours you wish to create those lights and darks. Now this one's got a bit of foliage in it, so let's start with a dark. Always start with a dark. You might see pale green leaves, but you always start with a dark. And I think this is actually just a weed, but we're just going to put in a bit of green. So I start with a dark green, then I change to my pale green, which I've got here. No, here. Put some of that on top and leave some of the dark to be your shadows. And then I might go over that with a different colour, maybe a bit of white, just to ring the changes. 3 colours is always really, really good. So either a dark green, a light green and a yellow, or a white on top, or a dark blue underneath, or a dark purple underneath. But always a few colours. There we are, and we've got something going on in there. Who knows what it is? And then I'm going to start putting in the bit of foliage that hangs over this pot. And I'm beginning again with a dark green, which I might actually change for a dark blue, because it's a little bit darker. And I'm going to put make them different sizes, the petals or the leaves, different sizes, different shapes, and let's have some hanging over the front of the pot there. Maybe a little bit hanging over that rim. And having done that, why not put the rest of the plant in up here? We're going to have dark all the way down to the rim of the pot, because it's either going to be a leaf or it's going to be in shadow. So dark all the way down. Then start with dark, block in. As you get to the outside of the shape, you start to bring it out into separate leaf shapes. And let's just get the dark all over to start. Break it up into separate leaf shapes and the odd little stalk as well. As you come through, try to make the stalks really, really skinny. You're going to have some flowers up there. So I'll carry on filling in the darks all the way through this plant, and I think all of that wants to be dark. In the centre, everything wants to be dark, I think. There we are. So that's the base of our plant. Right, we've got a nice dark base here. You see how all the centre is solid and dark, and as you get to the outside it's all breaking up. But I'm not drawing leaves, I'm just doing texture. Okay, now we're going to go into, I'm going to use yet another green, loads of colours. Doesn't matter what colours you use, mind you, just use your own colours. And I'm going to go over the light bits. Think about the fact that the light is coming from the left, so you're not going to have any shadow here. The shadow's going to be more over to that side. And you can put in some extra bits where there is nothing yet. And if you press hard, you'll get a bright green. If you press softer, you'll get a more shadowed colour. Oh, my words are dreadful when I'm painting. I do apologise. Some of it I'm using the edge of the pastel to get a hard mark. Some of it I'm just sort of scumbling across with the whole side of the pastel. Get a mixture of marks. And I'm definitely leaving a lot of dark, and that is so important. I might even go back and put some more in. I want a lot of dark left. It's very, very tempting to keep going and fill it all up with light. But the dark bits are really important. And then I'm going to choose a different green and go over the top of that one. I'm using this limey green. Make a third coat, always 3 colours. 3 colours always works. And I can also bring up some of these, and maybe we can see a bit down there somewhere. Doesn't have to be exactly on top. I don't want you to be too careful at all. This is a nice impressionist picture with bold areas of colour. This is what we're going for, nice bold colours, feeling of summer and outside. There we are, that will do for that. There's some flowers on this, and back to that dark red. And they are granny's bonnets, which hang down in like a little bell shape, although we're not going to be that specific. Let's put a couple down here. So this is a beautiful dark red. If you're using unison pastels, which I consider to be the best, this colour is called Red 13 and I love it. So I'm going to do some of that. Everything has a few colours, so I'm going to put a highlight of pale pink on the top. The pale pink that I use, I cannot find in unison, so I have to use a different make. I shall try and remember what make it is. I can't remember at the moment. There we are. A couple of different pinks, but these really bright pinks I can't find in the unison range, so I'm using a different range. There we are. We've got our nice little pot of flowers. I may just pale some of this up a little bit more with a white, or even, I think it'd be nicer with a pale blue. Yes, that makes a nice colour. This pale blue on top of some of it will give you a beautiful grey-green. That's really nice. I like that, because we also want to make different greens everywhere. That's lovely. Okay, and having done that, you can carry on and put the pot in exactly the same as these. If you want a bit of pattern around the rim of the pot, you just make some marks with your pale colour. Let's get the pot in as well. So I filled in this pot just the same as I did these. Notice I've put some dark here around this plant, and I've just noticed I need some dark here as well. Shadowed side needs a little more dark. And I've filled in these 2 pots here. Here's the one we drew, and I've done it really dark with a bit of brown and a bit of my dark greeny blue. And by making a little line across there, I've just made another pot behind it and created a nice dark edge. Let's put some plants in these pots. So I'm going to begin with my dark colour, and I'm going to go right down to that one so I can see the rim of that one. Make some foliage. Bring it all the way across, I think. So the centre of it needs to be full of dark. As you come out towards the outside, you start to break it up. And again, you can add in a couple of stalks of flowers. But as long as you break it up in the centre, sorry, I'm lying. As long as you break it up on the outside, put solid colour in the centre, it will work. There we are, so I've got some there. a bit of middle green on it. I'm going to leave it quite dark over here. Put some middle green across here, on top of those, and some little pieces of new colour where there wasn't any dark. But you can see the dark here is nice and sinks right back. I might put one bright leaf over the top of it, but I really want that dark at the background. In fact, I'm going to come in around these with it a little more instead. Always here for changing. And I'm going to add this time a bit of bright yellow on top. Let's change the colours. Slightly different colours on top of it. Make sure that you leave plenty of dark. The aim is not to cover all the green with the yellow, but to make little spots of light. Let's make a very tall one there, so it's a different height to this. And one going out there. And let's have some of these lovely yellow flowers. And again, you know, they're nothing. They're a little impression of a real childish flower. Just an impression of what's happening. Bit of green down there, a little bit of shadow, or maybe a centre. A little bit of shadow at the base, and we got some nice flowers coming out of that pot. If you want to ring the changes and put a different colour in, feel free. Okay, a little bit of red or something as well. Okay, let's have a look at these slats of wood down the bottom. I'm going to use my very pale yellow, this colour, and to begin I'm just blocking them in. I'm using the long edge of the pastel to block in. Look how filthy the pastel gets. And if here and there you can leave the tiniest little chink of background colour, you get a crack in the wood, which is really nice. That purpley background colour will make the wood grain for you and will give you a crack in the wood. So we're going to work our way through and fill in the three of these, and I'm using a little bit of this brown to make the edge. You can only see it here and here, the edge. So let's go along, fill those in and get the slats of wood done. I filled in these, and this one's a little wider because this is like the end of the bench. Now there was underneath here a couple of crosswise slats. I'm sure that's not the right thing to call them, but no matter. So we'll pop them in, make it all hold together, and they will have an edge as well on this side because it's all chunky wood. So let's pop those in. I'm going to put them in the original colour and then I'll put them into shadow afterwards. Use some of that brown on the edges of them. Right, let's make that all a bit more real now. With a little bit of your dark colour, you're going to get a very, very sharp hard line underneath the pots, like so. Where they're resting on the table. I'm going to go over this side piece very gently with my dark colour, but ever so gently. I just want to tone it down, make it a little bit darker. And the same with these, because I don't feel the light would be getting at them, so I'm going to tone them down. There we are, make them a lot darker. And you can just take your pale yellow and sharpen up these edges once you've done it. That's fine. Anytime you need to go over and sharpen up the edges is absolutely fine. Now, this is what's also going to set them very nicely into space. This shadow off this pot is going to go down in the gap across there, and it's going to come up the other side and across here. And it's going to make a really nice shadow going across here. There we are. And the same for this big bowl. It's going to cast a shadow across here, and I'm going to leave that lovely little bit of light coming through behind it. I think it's probably big enough to shadow all of that. Leave that little bit of light coming behind it, thicken up that shadow a little bit. So those shadows are now really putting the sunshine in on the left. I'm going to adjust this shadow, make it darker. There we are, so that it's more lit on the other side. Let's just have a little bit of fun with this and put some, oh, why not add a little bit of pink? Add something fun down there, because it's giving you again a third colour. So everything isn't just the first two colours, it's giving it, you see how it just picks it up when you add another colour. I'm going to make in between it really, really shadowed. This is going to be way down under there. Let's get that really dark. And you can sharpen up your edges again over the top of it if necessary. But I really like that there's little grains of that purple paper showing through, which I love. But if you want to be tidier, you can. Now we need this wall in the background. But I think first of all we'll just take a little bit of dark out here as well. I'm going to make just a leaf shape or two out here, just to finish off this side. And we'll put a bit of lighter over it and a couple of dots of colour. And then we'll come to the wall. I've moved the little picture just so that we can get down under here. Dark, dark, dark colour. I'm going to fill in a little bit. You, of course, won't have this on here, but you can do as little or as much as you wish. It really doesn't matter. You don't need a lot of it. I just feel the need to sort of finish this corner off a little bit. So again, solid in the middle and going into little textures on the outside. I'm going to use my pale blue. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to use a bit of green first. Bit of light green over that dark. Create some little bits of grasses. And a little bit through here as well. A little bit of colour, not too much. Very little over here. Then my pale blue, and I'm going to make a nice bunch of forget-me-nots that I can see in the grass here. And you have to really hammer this on in pieces. And it just finishes off that corner. With the same blue, I can put in this wall that's just going to make a little straight edge behind it. I'm just going to come over that flower a little bit and go round it. And let's make the shed. Here it's a very unattractive bottle green. We don't want that. But I do want a bit of an edge and a bit of something happening there. So I'm going to use this pale blue, which I think will suit it much, much nicer. And we're just going to let it fade away on the top and fade away on the side. Join in with them, create a bit of, let's bring it over there a bit. It just makes your picture fade away a little bit on the edge, which is rather nice. And the corresponding, you see that bit of blue balances those little bits. This hot orange over here, I'm going to put a couple of little bits over there. Let's take that off. I'll finish up. You just look at it then and think, what does it need? What does it need? What does it need? And I think I need a little bit of white. I have no idea what they are, but the colour is nice. couple of little white flowers in there, because I think again they balance this. And I think we're done. Nice little corner of your garden, or somebody's garden. Now you can do this one, of course, but you might want afterwards to go into your own gardens, find a little corner, put a couple of pots there if you haven't got any, and try something that is yours. Enjoy.